What's new? They lied. Plastic producers deceive public about recycling. For over 30 years, a new report has revealed. Hello and welcome back to Focus once again. Thanks for tuning in, and like I said, the world's an amazing place. Stay tuned, you're not gonna believe this. Okay, so once again, apologies for my extended leave, but you know how life goes. Sometimes you've just got to roll with the punches. And talking about punches, this is definitely going to feel like a hit in the stomach for anyone who truly believes in recycling. They lied. Plastic producers deceived public about recycling, a new report reveals. Companies knew for decades recycling was not viable, but promoted it regardless. Center for Climate Integrity study finds. Plastic producers have known for more than 30 years that recycling is not an economically or technically feasible plastic waste management solution. That has not stopped them from promoting it. According to a new report, the companies lied, said Richard Wiles, president of fossil fuel accountability advocacy group the Center for Climate Integrity, or the CCI, which published the report. It's time to hold them accountable for the damage they've caused. Plastic, which is made from oil and gas, is notoriously difficult to recycle. Doing so requires meticulous sorting, since most of the thousands of chemically distinct varieties of plastic cannot be recycled together. That renders an already pricey process even more expensive. Another challenge, the material degrades each time it is reused, meaning it can generally only be reused once or twice. The industry has known for decades about these existential challenges, but has obscured that information in its marketing campaigns. The report shows. The research draws on previous investigations as well as newly revealed internal documents illustrating the extent of this decades-long campaign. Industry insiders over the past several decades have variously referred to plastic recycling as uneconomical, said it cannot be considered a permanent solid waste solution, and said it cannot go on indefinitely. The revelations show. The authors say the evidence demonstrates that oil and petrochemical companies, as well as their trade associations, may have broken laws designed to protect the public from misleading marketing and pollution. Single-use plastics. In the 1950s, plastic producers came up with an idea to ensure a continually growing market for their products. Disposability. They knew if they focused on a single-use plastics, people would buy and buy and buy, said Davis Allen, investigative researcher at the CCI and the report's lead author. At a 1956 industry conference, the Society of Plastics Industry, a trade group, told producers to focus on low cost, big volume, and expendability, and to aim for materials to end up in the garbage wagon. The Society of Plastics is now known as the Plastics Industry Association, as is typical. Instead of working together towards actual solutions to address plastic waste, groups like CCI choose to level political attacks instead of constructive solutions. Matt Seaholm, president and CEO of the trade group, said in an email response to the report. Over the following decades, the industry told the public that plastics can be easily tossed into landfills or burned in garbage incinerators, but in the 1980s, as municipalities began considering bans on grocery bags and other plastic products, the industry began promoting a new solution: recycling campaigns. The industry has long known that plastic recycling is not economically or practically viable. The report shows an internal 1986 report from the trade association, the Vinyl Institute, noted that recycling cannot be considered a permanent solid waste solution to plastics. as it merely prolongs the time until an item is disposed of. In 1989, the founding director of the Vinyl Institute told attendees of a trade conference, "Recycling cannot go on indefinitely and does not solve the solid waste problem." Despite this knowledge, the Society of Plastics Industry established the Plastics Recycling Foundation in 1984, bringing together petrochemical companies and bottlers, and launched a campaign focused on the sector's commitment to recycling. In 1988, the trade group rolled out the Chasing Arrows, the widely recognized symbol for recyclable plastic. And I'm sure you do recognize that, the 3 arrows that go around in a circle or a triangle sometimes, and began using it on packaging. Experts have long said the symbol is highly misleading. Recently federal regulators have echoed their concerns. The Society of Plastics Industry also established a plastics recycling research center at Rutgers University in New Jersey in 1985. 1 year after, state lawmakers passed a mandatory recycling law. In 1988, industry group the Council for Solid Waste Solutions set up a recycling pilot project in St. Paul, Minnesota, where the city council had just voted to ban the plastic polystyrene or styrofoam. And in the early 1990s, another industry group ran ads in Ladies' Home Journal proclaiming a bottle can come back as a bottle over and over and over again. All the while, behind closed doors, industry leaders maintained that recycling was not a real solution. In 1994, a representative of Eastman Chemical spoke at an industry conference about the need for proper plastic recycling infrastructure. While someday this may be a reality, he said, it is more likely that we will wake up and realize that we are not going to recycle our way out of the solid waste issue. That same year, an Exxon employee told staffers at the American Plastics Council, "We are committed to the activities of plastic recycling, but not committed to the results. It's clearly fraud they engaged in," said Dr. Wiles. Apologies. The report does not allege that companies broke specific laws, but Elisa Joel, report co-author and attorney, said she suspects they violated public nuisance, racketeering, and consumer fraud protections. The industry's misconduct continues till this day. The report alleges over the past several years, industry lobbying groups have promoted so-called chemical recycling, which breaks plastic polymers down into tiny molecules in order to make new plastics, synthetic fuels, and other products. But the process creates pollution and is even more energy intensive than traditional plastic recycling. The plastic sector has long known chemical recycling is also not a true solution to plastic waste. The report says, in a 1994 trade meeting, Exxon Chemical Vice President Erwin Levowitz called one common form of chemical recycling a fundamentally uneconomical process. And in 2003, a long-time trade consultant criticized the industry for promoting chemical recycling, calling it another example of how non-science got into the minds of industry and environmental activists alike. This is another example, a new version of the deception we saw before, said Allen. Seaholm of the Plastics Industry Association said the report was created by an activist, an anti-recycling organization, and disregards the incredible investments in recycling technologies made by our industry. Unfortunately, they used out-of-date information and false claims to continue to mislead the public about recycling. He added he did not expand on which claims were outdated or false. The legal ramifications. The report comes as the plastic industry and recycling are facing growing public scrutiny. 2 years ago, California's Attorney General Rob Bonata publicly launched an investigation into fossil fuels and the petrochemical producers for their long role in causing and exacerbating the global plastics pollution crisis. A toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, last February also catalyzed a movement demanding a ban on vinyl chloride, a carcinogen used to make plastic. Last month, the EPA announced a health review of the chemical. the first step towards a potential ban. In 2023, New York State also filed a lawsuit against PepsiCo, saying its single-use plastics violate public nuisance laws and that the company misled consumers about the effectiveness of recycling. The public is also increasingly concerned about the climate impact of plastic producers and disposal, which account for 3.4% of all global greenhouse gas emissions. In recent years, 24 cities and states have sued the oil industry for covering up the dangers of the climate crisis. Similarly, taking the oil and petrochemical industries to court for knowingly deceiving the public, said Wiles, could force them to change their business models. I think the first step in solving the problem is holding the companies accountable, he said. Judith Enneck, a former regional administrator for the Environmental Protection Agency and founder of the advocacy group Beyond Plastics, called the analysis very solid. The report should be read by every attorney general in the nation and the Federal Trade Commission, she said. Brian Frosh, the former attorney general for the state of Maryland, said the report includes the kind of evidence he would not normally expect to see until a lawsuit has already gone through a process of discovery. If I were attorney general, based on what I read in the CCI's report, I'd feel comfortable pressing for an investigation and a lawsuit, he said. Once again, like I said, Earth is amazing. Not just the people, not just the places, but sometimes just how amazingly, one-minded we are to messing it up. But that's just my point of view. Once again, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Focus. Stay tuned for the thoughts and facts sections. In case you don't, have a great day. And if you're not having one, ain't too late to turn it around and make it happen. Like I say, carpe diem. Take care. Okay, so as always, thanks for sticking around for this thoughts and facts section, and thanks for sparing me a moment of your time. And once again, sorry for the downtime, but I'm back. So, quick facts. How many different types of plastic are there? It's understandable that many people may make the assumption that it's only one material, all the same from top to bottom. In fact, there are hundreds of types of plastic, also called polymers, but only a handful that we interact with on a regular basis. So there are 7 main types that we use. So not all plastic is born equal. In fact, not only can plastic be found in a variety of different shapes and colors, but also in many different types. Each one is different from the other and has different uses. For example, some types of plastic are reusable and others aren't. Because of the chemicals they contain, some can be recycled and others need to be disposed of in a very different way. In order to help you make a better informed decision about the products that you buy, today we will go through, I'm just reading from the article. Today we will go through the 7 different types of plastic, how they differ and the impact they have on the environment. Why are there different types of plastic? In 1988, the Society of Plastics Industry introduced the Resin Identification Code, or the RIC, a system which divided plastic resins into 7 different categories. The purpose was to provide a consistent national system to facilitate recycling of post-consumer plastics. Since then, after undergoing some minor variations, the RIC has been recognized as the worldwide standard plastic classification. Apologies. So, the different types of plastic. 1. Plastics that belong to group number 1 are made out of polyethylene terephthalate or phthalate, or PET. It holds the number 1 spot because of its widespread utility. It is most used for food and drink packaging purposes due to its strong ability to prevent oxygen from getting in and spoiling the product inside. It's usually picked up through most curbside recycling programs and has a tremendously positive track record. In fact, PET bottles are the most widely recycled plastic in the world. Number 2, HDPE. The technical name, high density polyethylene. It's an incredibly resistant resin, used for grocery bags, milk jugs, recycling bins, agricultural pipes, but also playground equipment, lids, and shampoo bottles, among others. Because it's made with long, unbranched polymer chains, it's much stronger and thicker than PET. Also, it is a relatively hard and resistant to impact, and can be subjected to temperatures upwards of up to 120 degrees Celsius without being affected. As far as its disposability is concerned, HDPE is accepted at most recycling centers in the world, as it is one of the easiest plastic polymers to recycle. Number 3, PVC. In most Caribbean countries, it's widely used. Polyvinyl chloride is the world's third most widely produced synthetic plastic polymer. It comes in 2 basic forms, rigid and flexible. In its rigid form, PVC is largely used as in the building and construction industry to produce door and window profiles and pipes. Drinking and wastewater more frequently used. When mixed with other substances, it can be made softer and more flexible and applied to plumbing, wiring, and electrical cable insulation and flooring. Thanks to its versatile properties such as lightness, durability, and easiness of processability, PVC is now replacing traditional building materials like wood, metal, concrete, rubber, and even ceramics, and a lot more, in various applications. Despite its many advantages and efforts made by the plastic industry to increase its reusability, PVC is still hardly recyclable and should therefore be avoided whenever possible. Number 4, LDPE. Contrary to HDPE, LDPE is characterized by low density molecules, giving the resin a thinner and more flexible design, and it has the simplest structure of all the plastics, making it easy and cheap to produce. Used in plastic bags, 6-pack rings, various containers, dispensing bottles, and most famously for plastic wraps. It is not often recycled though through curbside programs. Number 5, PP or polypropylene is the second most widely produced commodity plastic, and its market is forecasted to grow even more in the following years. Hard and sturdy, it can withstand high temperatures and is found in Tupperwares, car parts, thermal vests, yogurt containers, and even disposable diapers. Fun fact, because it is very resistant to fatigue, PP is usually used for living hinges, the thin piece of plastic that allows a part of a product to fold or bend from 1 to 180 degrees. Number 6, almost to the end. Polystyrene is the 6th type of plastic on the list, and it can be solid or foamed. It is a very inexpensive resin per unit weight and easy to create. For these reasons, it can be found everywhere, from beverage cups, insulation packaging materials, to egg cartons and disposable dinnerware. Perhaps better known by its commercial name, styrofoam. It's highly inflammable and dangerous, as it can leach harmful chemicals, especially when heated, which often happens because it is found in disposable takeout containers. People oftentimes microwave it to heat up the food inside of it, which is a really, really bad idea. Environmentally speaking, it's among the worst types of plastic. First, it is regarded as non-biodegradable. Second, polystyrene foam blows in the wind and floats on water due to its low specific gravity. Animals do not recognize it as artificial and may mistake it for food, causing serious effects on the health of birds or marine animals that might swallow it. Now, I'm pretty sure quite a few of us know about what do you call it? Plastic Island? No comment. And number 7 is other plastics. Like I said, there's hundreds of different types of plastics. These were just the main ones. If plastic cannot be identified in the above 6 types of the mentioned categories, then it will be included in group number 7. The best known plastics of this group are polycarbonates, PC, used to build strong, tough products. Polycarbonates are commonly used for eye protection in the creation of lenses or sunglasses, sport and safety goggles, but they can also be found on mobile phones and more frequently in compact discs or CDs, for those of you who don't know. In recent years, the use of these resins has been controversial. The basis of this controversy is the leaching that occur at high temperatures, releasing bisphenol A, a compound that is on the list of potential environmental hazardous chemicals. Moreover, the decomposition of BPA in landfills does not occur, meaning that this chemical will be persistent in the ground and will eventually find its way into water bodies, contributing to aquatic pollution. On top of this, plastics number 7 is almost never recycled. Now, I've got another real interesting article that I could cover in regards to this, but I was going to save it just for the fact that I am already, too far in. So, just for the fact that the fact section alone covered so much of your time, I'm going to try to keep it short. Like I said, our history is vast and we're making it pretty fast. So, you got to bear with me. But, just a quick thought in the matter. Because, I've done multiple episodes on plastic. And more recently, I'm going to refer to the one I did in regards to the fact that how every plastic bottle of water has nearly 100,000 to over 240,000 pieces of microplastics in it. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is for the fact that the article at the beginning did say that you could only do it once or twice. And from that, it most likely starts to break down, like they, tried to, convince us that it was or it did before. Now, I'm pretty sure if you are one of those people who save things, like let's say plastic bags, shopping bags, you probably noticed that you've probably had a bag or two that's been there for more than a year or 2 years. You may have noticed the way it crumbles, literally breaks apart into pieces. I don't even know how to describe it. Flaky, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you notice it on certain bags you may have bought. Just that plastic lining, maybe on the outside or the inside, that waterproof, lining that keeps you safe, warm, dry. Yeah, I'm sure you understand what it looks like. But what I'm saying is, an article like this has, like I said from the beginning, is probably a bit of a hit in the stomach for all of you eco warriors out there. I mean, everyone's trying to save the planet. We've only got this one left, as far as we're concerned. But I mean, when recycling was introduced, it was a revolution. It put many fears and worries to rest. It gave people a sense of ease, a sense of reassurance. And now, given that everything that's come to light, as always, these big industries always like to lure us into a false sense of security in order to be able to pull the wool over our eyes, or to be able to fool us more perfectly. But the world is changing. We know now things we did not know then, and it's up to us to make a difference, make a change. We cannot carry on the way we are going. I mean, like I said, the world is an amazing place. What are we doing, and how are we trying to leave it for our kids, for our children, for our future generations? Yes, you like your money. Yes, you like your car. Yes, you like all the nice things around you. But come on, don't you think everybody else likes it too? At the rate we're going, if you see we just keep mindlessly blowing through all of these things and just discarding it with any regard for the planet, for our environment, for anything, it's going to lead to some very devastating effects. And you know what? Come on, people. Why do we always wait for the bell to ring, the penny to drop, the world to fall out from underneath our feet? We don't need to start feeling that sinking feeling. We don't need to have that sense of dread. We just need to act. It's simple, it's easy. We know knowledge is power. We used and we saw birds flying, and just from that we figured out that the basic equation, the mechanical facts of lift. Low pressure, high pressure, faster above, lower at the bottom. Knowledge is power. What we know enables us to make a true difference. We can change many things, and human beings strive to change the world in its many features and its many facets. Gone are the days of the 7 wonders of the world. Soon is going to be the many wonders of man. Let's not make one of them be how we completely destroyed the planet. We don't want our future generations to ask, I wonder how that happened. Once again, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Focus. I hope you're having an amazing day. If not, like I always say, it's plenty of time for you to make it happen. Let no one disturb your peace. Let no one destroy your zen. Your future, your time is yours to control. Go forward and do just that. Live and let live. Take care. For links to the articles, check out the episode description. If you want to leave a comment, check out the trailer description for the email address. For topics like these and more, check out future episodes. Like I said, the world is an amazing place. There's a lot going on, and sometimes we just need to take a moment to focus.